and welcome to our University of Dubuque football show here on this Tuesday evening. Hope everyone had a great Labor Day holiday weekend. So we come to you from Chalmers Field, the site of the University of Dubuque game this Saturday, and we'll talk more about that coming up here in just a moment after we review the first week of Spartan football. Head coach Stan Zwiefel going to join us here for a half-hour show coming to you on Tuesday evening because of the Labor Day holiday. Running the show tonight on Tuesday, but the rest of the year, except for the bye week, will be here on Monday evenings at 6 o'clock here on 101.1 The River. We're going to recap Saturday's game at Collegeville, Minnesota, as the Spartans went up and took on a top 10 opponent to prove to be that and maybe more, as they defeated the Spartans, St. John's 45-9 in the opener for the University of Dubuque. So head coach Stan Zwiefel will be along here on the program to break that down and talk about the upcoming opponent for the Spartans this Saturday evening under the lights at Chalmers, as the University of Wisconsin-Platteville will come calling. And again, we'll get into the game coming up a little bit later on. But Coach Zwiefel will be back with us in just a moment as we talk about Saturday's contest that was passed at St. John's. When we return, this is the UD Football Show with Stan Zwiefel. We'll come back right after this on 101.1 The River. We're back on this Tuesday evening. It's the University of Dubuque Football Show. Head football coach Stan Zwiefel coming by. Stan, thanks for joining us here on this Tuesday night here from Chalmers Field.
My pleasure as always.
Well, tough loss. Anytime you lose, it's a tough loss and a very tough opponent that you played. You knew it was going to be a tough game going up there against St. John's University in Collegeville, Minnesota. Unbelievable college football atmosphere for Division III, and your team came home a loser, unfortunately, 45-9.
Yeah, I'll say this. It was a great venue, and as I had mentioned earlier, this is one of the venues I really wanted our kids to experience. It's got a lot of flavor to it of a big-time college atmosphere, but really a very, very energetic and energized crowd, especially their student section. They've led the attendance in NCAA football 13 out of 15 years, and we've had an opportunity to play up there a couple times before. It's just a great venue. I really expected them to be a top 10 team, and I think I mentioned to a couple of our coaches and their coaches after the game, that probably is the fastest team that I've played against in all my years of coaching. And I'm talking about team speed from the defensive line to the linebackers to the secondary. Great team speed on offense and a really outstanding running back. I knew he'd be good. He was a little bit better than I had seen on film, and we had him on film late in the season when he was nicked up. He was very fresh, very difficult to bring down on one-on-one tackles. But I think we learned some things about our football team. It's always difficult to learn things from a loss, especially a loss. Tim, that first quarter seemed to me like it was going to never end and last forever. We just couldn't get out of the shadow of our own end zone after the first punt that was short. And then, after that, I thought we got our legs underneath us a little bit. We missed some opportunities offensively. But let me say this, they created a lot of those missed opportunities on their defense with just not much separation in our throw game. Our receivers were covered very well. They had a number of pressures on our quarterback, and we just couldn't get our throw game in sync till probably relatively close to the third quarter. I did come away with a really very optimistic look about how we were able to run the ball, very excited about both our running backs in Davon Vance-Jenkins and Alec Argman-Takis, and we did a good job running the ball. I think we averaged almost 4 yards a carry and rushing the ball, so that was good against a very good and stout defense. But we surely have to get better in all aspects. Open field tackling was an issue not only in our defense but in our special teams. But I think what happens when you play a team with really good speed, Tim, those things are magnified when people get in the open field, and you have to make plays in that.
Mm-hmm. Like you alluded to, the first quarter really set the tone, how the game was going to play out and the rest of the way. But there were some opportunities. You could have made it close. You still, you're not totally out of things when you go in at halftime. You had a chance to score, and I think it was a turnover that ended up taking you out of a scoring opportunity. But then you go into halftime, you put a nice drive together to get your first points of the season on the board.
Yeah, I think like anything, you're always trying to find a score of 45-9 doesn't sound very good, and it's hard to make it sound good in any form or fashion. So what you do is find the things that you've done well in that game. And again, as I mentioned earlier, we did put together 11-play drive, and we did also, Curtis Prawl could have kicked another field goal. Had the score been a little bit closer, we probably would have kicked the field goal and not gone for 2 points, but the score wasn't such that indicated to us that we needed to close points because you're going to have fewer opportunities as the game moved on. But I think more than anything else, when you get into that kind of environment, boy, you've got to be focused on every single play. And if you don't, if you're playing a good team or an outstanding team, you don't focus on every single play, something bad can happen, and a lot of times it did on Saturday. Hope our men really understand about that focus. Now, we talked earlier about playing down Augustana a couple years ago in the heat. This game was really warm, and in the second half we had 3 of our 4 guys on our defense that didn't play. Oscar White, our starting corner, Michael Joseph, one of our starting corners. They had suffered heat cramps, and we couldn't get him back into the ball game. The good news is you got some experience for guys who hadn't played before. The bad news is you're playing with awful young guys in a really critical high situation. But all being said, I think we have to take that as a learning part. Take a look and give St. John's its credit where it's due. That's an outstanding football team with veterans in almost every spot. Outstanding running back and great team speed, as I mentioned, and that created some problems for us in a lot of areas. Again, as I said, I felt really good about our ability to run the ball. Rio Johnson, our quarterback, started out 0 for 6, then ended up going 15 for 24 the rest of the way. I think he made some throws. We had a couple drops, but for the most part, thrown into very tight windows. We hope we can get a little bit better of our separation on our receivers on that. And, of course, all those things, you got to take whatever you've done and put those into a good learning environment for us. Now, we were upset about getting beat 45-9. I don't know if we'll play a team that's better. I hope we don't, Tim, this year, because that might be the best team we'll play, and we knew that going up there would be a very difficult environment.
Mm-hmm. The option offense was tough. They ran it well, and you did stop it a couple of times, but it hurt you on more than one occasion.
Yeah, if you go back and really examine that game as we do, obviously, we had a couple times in that first quarter where we had them 4th down.
Yep.
And both times they ran.
They were 5 for 5 on fourth down conversions.
And, of course, in that part of it, there's 2 times we could have got off the field and the score would have been 14-3. Unfortunately, we weren't able to. I will say this about the option they're running. They have a very unusual option. They're not running, isolating somebody on the end line of scrimmage or a second-level player to run their option. They're kind of just blocking like a quarterback sweep, and then they're going to option whatever comes out of the secondary. They were able to get on our edge player with their tight ends and do a good job of knocking us off the ball, and that play just got extended, and their quarterback made 2 really good decisions. One he kept for a touchdown, another one he pitched very, very late and got it down the sidelines to Sura. We got out of, I think, probably what our option responsibilities were because we got knocked off the LOS. But, again, that will be a good learning thing for us as we move along. I don't know if we'll see that kind of option again as we move along during the course of the year. We'll see speed option, but that was a little bit different. That simply speed option means they're going to option somebody, the end man, on the line of scrimmage, and they didn't do it in this game. But hats off to them. Their quarterback made good decision. He's a nice-looking kid, very athletic, and was very difficult for us to bring down. But I thought the really difference in the game for them offensively was their ability to give Sir the ball. And we just, man, oh, man, he was difficult for us to bring down.
Yeah, he was an impressive running back. In your 7 years here at the University of Dubuque, have you had to play against
I don't think so. He reminded me of Justin Spaulding, but a bigger version of Justin Spaulding, about 3 inches taller and probably about 18 pounds heavier. And, as I told you before, they're touting him as the number 1 running back in the country, a potential Division III Player of the Year. And as I left that field at the end of the game, I thought, yes, he is a very good football player.
Talk about your performance on special teams, your thoughts on that.
We lost Cayman Martins, and I would mention that he had a fractured ankle, displaced his tibia and fibia, and put a steel rod in Saturday night and a surgery after the game. That's a big loss for us in a variety of reasons. He's our punter, but also he's a holder on our extra point and field goal, and those guys have been together now. That was a year and up to date this season that we've worked very hard in getting that unit, that team within a team, to take that, and that's going to be difficult to replace. The punting part, will have a freshman replace him, Connor O'Malley, who I think is an outstanding athlete from Pewaukee, Wisconsin. And we're still going to figure out who that kicker is. We love to have our team within team be a guy doesn't have another position, so he can practice that, get 50, 60 reps a day at that thing. So we're in an evaluation process right now and trying to figure out who that's going to be. But, sometimes it becomes a domino effect, Tim, and you have to move one guy from there, and then that guy creates a void and you're too deep. So we'll do that tonight, and Wednesday try to figure out who that holder is going to be. We have two guys that will work out at that spot, but Kamen's loss is a big loss because now we'll have a freshman punter. And then, I really think that Curtis Prawl is going to have an outstanding season. He made a field goal there near the end of half. We could have kicked an extra point with him, chose to go for two. And down in the fourth quarter when we didn't score, I thought that was a bad call by me. I should have ran something different to get us in the end zone. But I feel real good about Curtis in the kicking game. And I thought our kickoff, we directional kicked him, and we weren't able to hit the direction as much as we wanted to on Saturday. And thus they got that kid in open field, and that was a problem, tackling that kid in open field. The receiver, Bungham, is an outstanding return man and just got great shake in the open field.
We're talking with head football coach Stan Zweifel here. It's the University of Dubuque football show. I guess we talked about Kamen's injury.
Yeah.
How'd you come out injury-wise other than that?
Other than the cramping, we felt we didn't have anybody that had any significant injury that should miss any practice time or playing time on Saturday. Now, Kamen's, as I mentioned, it's a blow just because he's a great kid and been with us, and you never want to see a young man hurt, especially to a surgical part of it. But, injury is part of the sport, and we just have to get the next man up.
Talking with Coach Stan Zweifel, as I mentioned. This is the UD Football Show, and we're going to return more. We'll talk about Saturday's opponent, the University of Wisconsin-Platteville, when we return with Coach right after this on 101.1 The River. Back on the UD Football Show with head football coach Stan Zweifel on this Tuesday night. Once again, normally we're going to be on Monday nights with Coach at 6 o'clock. It was special this week because of the Labor Day holiday, and so we bumped the show to Tuesday night. But Monday nights at 6 o'clock, you can go join us for that. We're on the University of Dubuque's website, and the program is streamed with video streaming as well. You can see the show as we do it as well on Monday nights, but tonight's a special night. And we'll have the broadcast of Spartan game number 2 coming up on Saturday as the Spartans entertain the University of Wisconsin-Platteville in the Battle of the Bridge. And Coach Zweifel, Platteville off to a great start. I see they're ranked in the top 25 this week, and I guess deservedly so. They really put the wood to Buena Vista in their opener.
They sure did. They got after BV. It was 42-6 at half, so they're a very veteran team. I think they're going to end up being a top 10 team. I really do. I don't know what that old statement is, out of the frying pan into the fire, but that kind of is appropriate for our game with UW-Platteville. It's been a really good rivalry. It really has. We're my 5 games against them were 0-5. 3 of those games have come to the last possession with us a chance to have an opportunity to win, but not be able to get that done. I expect it to be a very hard-fought football game. They have a tremendous offense. They broke in a new quarterback that was 21 for 25, I believe, tremendous accuracy. But their throw game is short, very controlled, and a very high percentage. I think the key for us in that game will be able to stop their running game, try to make them more one-dimensional if we possibly can. And, of course, defensively, they return a lot of good players off a very solid club last year. They played Whitewater very close, lost to them at the end of the game, and they have a great player, Andrew Robinson, who's a senior from Arcadia, who they move around on the defensive line. He's a guy that we've got to be aware of. He gets a majority of their sacks, and he's an outstanding player. I've got a kid, inside backer, Belkin from East Dubuque, who's been a really good player for them over the past 3 years. So they bring a really good cast of characters, and they really are a team that in probably the last 4 or 5 years have probably been as good as anybody in the WIAC and made a national playoff appearance 2 years ago, I believe it was. So they'll bring a team that's very difficult. You don't see their offense every day. It's a spread version with a no-huddle type tempo to them. And then, of course, there's a kind of a scenario where Coach Smith, who coached with me for, jeepers, I don't know how long, 7 years, is will have to become their defensive coordinator, and of course, pretty familiar with our stuff offensively, and we're pretty familiar with him defensively. So I don't know what that creates, other than it creates a little bit of added excitement and intrigue to the football game. And we really want to get that bridge. We really like to bring that trophy into our place if we possibly could. It'll take a tremendous effort, and we'll have to play more mistake-free than we did Saturday, Tim, for us to have an ability to win that game. And I'm hoping that we've learned from that about how important it is to be focused on every play, but that'll be an outstanding game.
With Platteville coming in with a lot of confidence under their belt, with their passing game obviously is something you're going to be focused on. Is it a different preparation than, I guess, St. John's?
I think one of the biggest things is it's a formation that we haven't practiced against much in fall camp or for St. John's. St. John's being more of a traditional tight end and two-back, and of course, we are very traditional tight end and two-back, or tight end and three wide. So they have hardly a tight end ever in their offense. So they're completely spread. So the preparation time will be, Tim, spent on alignment versus formations. But everybody should know that they still want to run the football. And their base, when they're good, is the ability to get you out of the box, get less guys into the tackle box, and be able to run the ball. They've got a couple different backs they're using. It's not probably as powerful as the backs they had in the past, but they've got great quickness, and you better tackle the guys or they're in open field because you're spaced out so much defending their formation. So they've bring a unique part, and we will have to spend time on that, about getting lined up. We won't change our coverages, Tim, nor will we change our alignments and fronts, but we'll have to just make sure we can get aligned to formations that we haven't seen.
We didn't talk about it in the first segment when we talked about your game in St. John's, but as the game went on, your running game did get better. Both backs they had their moments, and you were able to move the ball on the ground. That's going to be important for you Saturday too.
Yeah,
right?
One of the things against Platteville is keep their offense off the field as much as you possibly can. And, of course, running the ball will help that. And, BV had a 100-yard rusher and a 100-yard receiver in that game, which means they made some explosives, obviously. But they just were not able to get enough stops when Platteville's offense was on the field. The more times you can keep them on the sidelines and be able to do a little bit more run and controlled passing game and, move the sticks, you got a better chance to beat these guys. But I'm excited again because it gives us an opportunity to play again. I think, and I believe this, they'll be, we scrimmage UW-Oshkosh, who I think is a top 10 team. Just got done playing St. John's. I don't know. I can't predict the future, but they're liable to be in the semifinals. I think they got that kind of talent. I really do. And now we're going to play a team who's on the cusp of being in the top 10. So, again, it's going to be a really stiff challenge for us. I think our men welcome that. I know our coaching staff welcomes that. We're really excited about getting out. And I always say this. I told the team on Sunday when we met, the biggest improvement during the course of the season usually comes from game 1 to game 2. Now, we got a bigger improvement to make than I thought we were going to, but we're going to make some improvement from game 1 to game 2, and hopefully that'll put us in a situation where we're going to be competitive enough to have a chance to win that football game.
Coach, anything else important that we should know about before we get ready for the Platteville game here Saturday?
We've had such great crowds when we've played UW-Platteville. I think part of it's the rivalry, how close we are to them, and it's been a very competitive game. My Lord, has it been a competitive game. And so I'm hoping we'll have seems like it's going to be a little bit cooler temperatures, more football-like weather, and then I'm hoping we can get a 6 o'clock start on Saturday, have a great crowd, great excitement, a lot of other activities going on our campus, a lot of sporting events, and those guys stick around, and the new parking lots for tailgating on our place, I'm hoping to have a real big crowd.
One thing we were going to mention before we go, there's going to be a new element to welcome folks to Chalmers Field. Joe Clapity, of course, where would the university be without Joe? Just a great alumni, and he's going to have a special honor here at Chalmers Field now.
Yeah, as we affectionately call him, our team owner will be at the football game. We're breaking open unveiling, I guess is the right word, unveiling a new statue of Joe that'll be sit in front of Chalmers Field. And as you mentioned, what a tremendous benefactor he's been not only to our athletic programs, as you can see the facilities, who he's directly responsible for, but just a tremendous benefactor of the university. Promotes University of Dubuque, wants University of Dubuque to do well, and has really put his heart and soul into this university, and I think has made a significant difference. And that's kind of our way of saying thank you, Joe, in many ways. And, of course, as everybody knows, he has a direct fondness for our football team. he's as enthusiastic as a supporter that I've ever seen. And so that's really fun. And sometimes I just really cherish the things that he's done for our football team and our university.
Coach Sweefel, we appreciate your time here on this Tuesday evening. Thanks for joining us. Best of luck to you as you play the Pioneers coming up here at Chalmers Field, 6 o'clock kickoff on Saturday night. Airtime of 5:40 here on 101.1 The River. Good luck as you get ready for Platteville here this week.
Thanks, Tim. We'll look forward to talking to you next week.
All right. This is the UD Football Show with head football coach Stan Zwiefel. And we'll come back and have some final thoughts on our program when we return after this on 101.1 The River. We're back here at Chalmers Field on the University of Dubuque campus, as this place will be electric on the Saturday night, as a lot of folks from Platteville will be here supporting the Pioneers. So a lot of orange and blue in the stands on the far side of Chalmers Field, and a lot of blue on this side, as the University of Dubuque and Wisconsin-Platteville will play in what, as Coach Zwiefel said, has been a great rivalry game over the last few years, and looking forward to the game. And you can hear it right here on 101.1 The River. Also, we'll have the video stream live from the University of Dubuque's website as well, dbq.edu. You look for that listen icon that they've got on the sports page. Click on that, and you can watch the game and listen to all the play-by-play action coming on 101.1 The River. Again, we'll be on the air at 5:40 with that pregame show coverage, 6 o'clock kickoff. Hopefully it's going to be a beautiful night for football. Sounds like it is weather-wise. Anyway, the forecast as it is here on Tuesday before kickoff on Saturday. And then remember, we'll be back with our UD football show coming up next Monday night, as we'll be here at Chalmers Field at 6 o'clock with the UD football show with Stan Zwiefel. So thanks for tuning in this evening, and we'll look forward to talking to you Saturday, and we'll see if the Spartans can pick up a big win over the Pioneers. For the UD football show, I'm Tim Larry. Have a great evening.